The National Alliance of Black School Educators, an organization of African American and other minority educators, once wrote in a white paper that educating black and brown students is a civil right. The white paper gave the rationale that the historic and documented educational underachievement of black and brown kids. This white paper gave the rationale that the historic and documented educational underachievement of African Americans and other minorities is the most glaring inequity and unfilled initiative in the 20th and 21st century for social justice. SB 1452 proposes that education is a civil right for Title I students to have the option of what they consider to be a better education, a chance for students to have a better learning because, of course, it is their civil rights. But those of us who truly understand what civil rights means know that this legislation is a misnomer in itself against what it claims to want to provide. So let us clarify civil rights in education. Number one, let's promote academic excellence. In order to promote academic excellence, public schools must be able to provide the adequate resources to ensure highly qualified teachers that lead the classroom, innovative curriculum material that enhances and engages the learning styles of minorities with respect to their cultures, traditions, and values, and accountable measurement instruments that support and evaluate teachers and leaders through the learning challenges students bring to school every day. Based on this criteria, I ask you today, are private schools and other entities held accountable for the measurement to promote academic excellence? What are the accountability measures to ensure the promotion of academic excellence? And where are those requirements in this legislation? Number two, public schools must ensure dropout prevention and post-secondary plans. And in order to do that, we do things like zero tolerance policies on dropout prevention and enriching student retention. We host post-secondary activities for all students, regardless of their career paths, so that they can have an opportunity to reach their future goals. We provide resources for our special populations who will need adult assistance as they reach their future goals. Based on this criteria, I ask you again today, are private schools and other entities held accountable for this to happen? What are the accountability measures to ensure that this happens? And where are those measures in this legislation? Number three, public schools provide support for families of underachieving Title I students, a part of this legislation. But number one, we do it because we provide parent workshops to assist families in supporting student learning. We provide counseling services for families, most times during the evening, to support the life needs of families. We provide nutritional resources to support families beyond the school day. We generate financial support for students and families in need of basic resources that Abraham Maslow says is in the hierarchy of needs. Based on this criteria, I ask you a third time, are private schools and other entities held accountable to provide the resources I just described? What are the accountability measures to ensure that these things occur? And where are these requirements in this legislation? I venture to bet you will not find these civil rights in education that public school settings provide for students embedded in receiving Title I through Title IX, by the way, services. Legislation oftentimes sticks with buzzwords, Title I being one of those buzzwords, but they never flesh out the significance of the terms that they apply. And this is the case in this legislation. As a public school educator who often discusses how it is important to level the playing field for students of color to have better access to education, I do not think this legislation is that answer. Do not call this a civil right. because this is not a civil act of supporting students or the whole child, and it is not a right. Ron Edmonds in 1971 said, "We can, whenever and wherever we choose, educate all kids whose education is of interest to us." Let's make education of interest to us.